If you've ever felt yourself reacting to your child in a way that you swore you wouldn't, whether it is aggression, yelling, freezing, spiraling, and then immediately after thinking, why did I react that way again? Then this video is for you. Because by the end of this video, you are going to have a very simple method in order to break cycles in the moment, without having to calm down, without having to fix yourself, without having to analyze your childhood to figure out why you were triggered. Because the way cycles are actually broken is not in a way that you as a mother in society is taught. And in this video, I'm going to be sharing with you my secret method that is based on nearly 10 years of experience as a theta healer, working with the subconscious mind, knowing how cycles get passed down from generation to generation, and firsthand experience having an almost 3-year-old daughter. So let's get into it. Talking about the ones that are getting passed down generation to generation around powerlessness, around helplessness, around feeling like you have no voice, that when you are a mother, you can't get angry. So anger is dangerous. And my favorite, which is something that has been passed down a lot, and I see in a lot of my clients, which is be seen and not heard. Now, what happens when you are holding on to these beliefs? When you are holding on to the programs of powerlessness, helplessness, having no voice, that your anger is dangerous and a threat, that you need to be seen and not heard, and another one, silence, and need to be silent to keep the peace. This is one that I have had to work through, and my husband is having to deal with the aftermath of me not using my voice. I love him. I love you, babe. These programs and beliefs, they're not your fault. These are programs and beliefs that have been passed down for many generations, but it shows up in your reactions. So if you're unsure if you even have these beliefs, I want you to just notice how your body reacted when I wrote these down. If there was a part of you that was like, oh my gosh, I have this, or yes, I've experienced that, or yes, I felt that. And if you want to know if this is still running in your subconscious and influencing how you react to your child when they have those big emotions, when they throw those temper tantrums, when they are not listening to you and it triggers the absolute shit out of you, then I want you to download the Shift the Imprint workbook. Now, in this workbook, it gives you a very powerful tool to use, the same one that I use on myself on a daily basis and that I teach my students inside the Theta Healing Seminar on how to uncover what belief systems and programs are running within your subconscious that are unconsciously showing up and affecting your relationship with your child, and if you're passing on cycles. Because these cycles, they show up in aggression. These cycles show up in you trying to assert your power. And if you have a toddler like myself, they are going to test you to the limit of how much power you do or do not have. But knowing these cycles is only the first step. Knowing what programs you're holding on to in your subconscious mind, the belief systems that are showing up when you do get triggered, that's only the first part. That's not even part of the method I'm going to share with you. But it's a very important part for you to know, because until you know what programs you're holding on to, you are going to be unaware of exactly how it's showing up in your motherhood, how it's showing up in how you react to your child, and you're going to be unaware of those unconscious patterns and cycles you're passing down to your child. So once you know what belief systems you're holding on to, which again, I give you the exact method I use in the Shift the Imprint workbook, as well as the ability to track how it's showing up for you, how it's showing up for your child, and I'm giving you an actual activation on the core belief system around safety that you need to shift in order for you to be the leader and to raise a sovereign child. All that's in the description, okay? So once you figure out if you have any of these, this is what gets triggered when your child has big emotions. This is what usually continues to pass on cycles. And so the method I'm going to share with you today is the one that I actually used right before me recording this video. My daughter had some really big emotions and she was trying to bite me and she was hitting and she was shaking and yelling. And in the past, I would have reacted out of these wounds. I would have tried to assert my power back. That means I would have taken whatever she couldn't have out of her hands aggressively. That means I would have walked away when she had big emotions because I couldn't deal with it. But when I implemented the method that I'm going to share with you in just a minute, it shifted. My daughter suddenly, she felt safe enough to express her big emotions. And even though it was uncomfortable for me, because it sometimes brings up that discomfort, based on what I'm going to share with you in a minute, it brings up the discomfort because it's going against your programming. Your programming is telling you, we're in fight or flight. I don't want to feel the powerlessness, the helplessness, I have no voice. I have to claim my power back. And this method is going to shift that for you. But because of that, I no longer left that experience feeling the guilt and the shame of showing up for her in a way that was not my intention, that was not sovereign, that was not a leader. I didn't hold on to the instant regret that comes with me acting out of my childhood wounds. And I also felt so much calmer knowing that I also didn't pass down these programs unconsciously because I was unwilling to hold the space for her big emotions. So this method is so powerful. So let's get into it. Okay, so the method that I'm going to teach you today is called the SAFE method. SAFE. Okay, so SAFE isn't about being calm. SAFE is about stopping the loop before you pass on these cycles. So S deals with stop. When you begin to feel that you're getting into a charged place, and what I mean by charged place is you're no longer in that state of rest. Your body has shifted into fight or flight. And this may look like shaking. For myself, it's shaking, or it's getting really cold. It's the agitation, it is the raising your voice, maybe repeating yourself and feeling that irritation, frustration, anger, and even rage. All these are signs that your body is now shifted into autopilot, fight or flight, and it's going to do whatever it can to get you out of that state. So the first thing that you need to do, the first thing in this method is to stop. No matter what your child's doing, as long as it's not something that's going to cause them physical harm in that moment. But for example, earlier today, my daughter had a washable marker, but she was trying to go under the table with it, and she was getting it on the chair, on the table. She had it on her clothes, and it irked me because I had asked her many times, please put the marker down. I know want it on this, and this. But she decided to hold on to it and try to hide under the table. So she wasn't in any real threat. But my nervous system was. My nervous system felt, okay, my toddler, she's not listening to me. She's rebelling. I'm losing power. I gotta get it back. And so I wanted to yell. I wanted to react, but I just stopped. And the reason why this is so powerful, this is you, okay? There is a belief loop. And if you're interested, let me know in the captions. I'm going to do a whole video in describing this in more detail of the belief loop in order for you to understand how to actually break the cycles. That is a very sustainable way. This method is going to be able to help you stop it in the moment. But the belief framework and the belief loop is so powerful to know. So let me know in the caption if you want a whole video on that. So this is you. You have, let's say you have an experience. Your toddler has the marker and she's not giving it back. She's drawing on things and you're just getting irritated. So you have a certain feeling. Maybe there's a tightness in your chest. Maybe there is the shaking. Maybe your throat constricts a little bit, okay? All these different feelings that you have. That signals to the brain, something isn't right here. And when you witness, you see your little toddler, okay, with a marker in her hand, you're gonna have whatever it is that it triggers in you. For me, it was powerlessness, it was helplessness, it was my voice isn't heard. That's gonna trigger your belief systems, those programmings. And this is why it's so important to know exactly what programmings are in your subconscious mind. So it triggers a certain program. That elicits a certain feeling from the first time you ever experienced and instilled that programming. And this is what we discover in my Theta Healing seminars, is exactly how to clear this from the body and from the mind and reprogram it with a new belief. But just know for today and for this method that when you have a certain belief, it creates a certain feeling. Then that feeling gets connected to whatever it is you're experiencing. Then because you are experiencing it, it reinforces to the subconscious mind that this is the truth. I'm losing power. I am helpless. Look, I have no voice. Look, there's no respect. And you go on autopilot. And there's a loop. And it keeps happening. And it keeps happening. And so what begins to occur is that your body shuts off the more rational part of you. And it dips from, hopefully you're in alpha. I teach my clients and my students to do their best to remain in theta. You go into beta. Now, the issue with you going into beta is that this, if it's coming from you being triggered, this is the state, the brainwave state you were in fight or flight. And so when you're in fight or flight, there's no room for logical thinking. There's no space for you to be able to rationalize, okay, what's the highest and greatest way for me to navigate this? Is it really ripping a marker out of my kid's hands? Or is it maybe sitting down and talking with them? You go into, I gotta get my power back. I don't wanna feel these emotions. And so the subconscious says, what can I do that's gonna take me away from feeling these emotions? Usually that is fight, flight, freeze. And for mothers, especially with their kids, it tends to be more on the fight side. And that is just biological, it's unconscious, we don't mean to, but our body goes into, how can I reclaim my power? So when we stop, okay, it gives us an opportunity to acknowledge that we are being triggered, that we are at the crux of our cycle. We are at the point where we can either continue to pass on the cycle, in which case we react out of a beta brainwave state, we react out of our unconscious behaviors, or we can say, what is in the highest and greatest good for me to do in this moment? And we take the time, we take even just like 5 seconds to take a breath. There's no fixing that needs to be done in this step. There's just stop. Stop what you're doing, stop talking, stop, hopefully not yelling, stop reacting, just stop. Okay, A is for awareness. This is where that Shift the Imprint workbook is very handy because it gives an outline for you to keep track of the awareness piece. Because when you become aware of your programmings, when you become aware of how your body's reacting, so maybe there's your chest that gets tight, maybe your heart rate increases, maybe there's heat in your body. When you can become aware of what exactly, so what is triggering me in this moment. Okay? Asking yourself that question gives you back a certain level of power, because now you are no longer allowing your conscious or your unconscious mind to take over. Now you're no longer allowing those unconscious behaviors to reclaim the power. Now you are actually asking yourself, what is happening in this situation that is causing this emotional, physiological response? And this is so important. This is why I teach my students inside the Theta Healing Seminar about belief systems, about emotions, about how to download yourself with emotions. But this one question is going to reveal so much for you, okay? There's not much else here for this step, but this is what I want you to ask yourself. Okay, F is for fracture. You want to fracture or break or interrupt that loop. So going back to that version of you, okay, you have your belief, you have the emotion, you have the physical experience you get to witness and see, and then you have the triggering again of another thought, another belief, and then it keeps going. Now, when that happens, as I mentioned earlier, you go into beta. You go into unconscious. This is how some people can go into a blind rage, and then once they're out of it, they honestly have no idea how it happened. This is how, for myself, I've gone into blind rages before. When I experienced postpartum depression, I would slam doors all the time. And then after, when I had come out of it, I would think to myself, how could I do that? I never once did that before I had my daughter, but all of a sudden there's all this rage inside of me. And it's like I had no control over my body. Step F in the SAFE method, this one is what's going to create the biggest shift. This is what's going to break the cycle. Because what happens is when you begin to interrupt the loop, and there's many places you can interrupt the loop. One of the easiest ones is between the brain and the feelings, okay? One of the hardest ones is between the experience and the belief. Because this 3D matter, it's a consequence of the beliefs and the emotions. So it's harder to change your physical reality in the moment. You're not going to be able to just instantly take away the pen or the marker from your child and all of a sudden it's perfect. Whatever it is that's triggering you, you're not going to be able to change it instantly like magic. I wish we could. I truly do. But that's just not the way it works. However, you can interrupt this very important part right here between the belief and the feeling. And the way you do that is through doing something that is completely outside of your norm. So a lot of us are, especially when we become a mother, and especially when we don't necessarily have the large amount of space in our day to sit with our emotions, to sit with our feelings, to navigate it, to process it, what happens is we go on autopilot. And think about you driving a car. Maybe when you first started driving a car, you were so aware of like your hands on 10 and 2. I haven't taken my test in a while. 10 and 2. Maybe you're constantly looking in your rearview mirror and you're super focused. But now, chances are you have kids screaming in the back, you have your coffee in your cup holder, you're changing the station, you are able to drive without actually thinking about where you're going, but you always end up getting there. You shift onto autopilot. You shift onto the programming your mind is held onto of, this is how we drive. You don't need to worry about how to figure it out. Don't worry, it's logged away. You have other things to worry about. The same thing happens when our unconscious wounded programs are triggered. We go into autopilot and we react in the same way we always reacted in order to take us back to that place of safety that the subconscious mind has logged away as safe. So when you interrupt a pattern, I want you to do something that is vastly different than what you normally do. My favorite thing is to walk backwards. Sounds super strange. It's gonna look really weird. You may even get a giggle out of your kids, which is gonna be great. It's gonna take them out of fight or flight. Walking backwards, it's gonna cause you to stop focusing on this loop and start focusing on the new loop of what the heck is happening to my body? Why am I walking backwards? I never walk backwards. And so now that's instantly going to remove yourself from that unconscious loop. Okay? Now, all of a sudden, and it happens very quick, you instantly come out of beta. And when you come out of beta, even if you don't necessarily go straight into theta, which is what I teach my moms inside the theta seminars, even if you can't go straight into beta, I erase the arms, and you just go into alpha, your going to be now in a position where you can consciously think, how is the best way for me to respond to this situation? Another way you can do it is if you tap your head and rub your stomach, or the opposite way around. You can balance on one foot. You can hum. You can hum something backwards. You can count down from 10 or 100. Just something that is out of the norm. So that way your mind focuses on a new loop and new thoughts that go along with that loop and that physical experience, rather than the one that you are in. Now, E. E is for embody. This is where you get the ultimate power back when you choose to embody your most sovereign self. And the reason why this is so important is because it gives you the opportunity to instill something new into your child. Because from the ages of 0 to 7, your child is in primarily the theta brainwave state. And I have more videos describing this, the imprinting period of the ages 0 to 7, the importance of you knowing this and what gets instilled in this, in a video up here. For today though, and for this safe method, I want you to know that how you react to your child, how you behave, how you speak to them, your energy, that all gets imprinted into their subconscious as their own programs that they are going to have to, maybe unfortunately, uncover when they're an adult and when they're a mom and they're choosing to break cycles. But that is why you're here. You want to free them from the burden of having all these wounded, unconscious programs by doing this work. So when you embody your most sovereign self, here's the one thing that I do for my child. And it is so powerful, and it may trigger them at first too, especially if you've been in this pattern of aggression, of irritation, of yelling for a while, and you suddenly flip the script. But I want you to get down to their level, okay? That way, again, there's no power struggle here. There's no I'm big, you're small. You get down to their level. You look at them in the eyes, and you say one thing, okay? One thing that it's going to pull at the heartstrings of yourself. It's going to touch your little inner child. It's going to be one of those things that maybe you never received, but you truly needed to in the moments when you had big emotions. Ready? I see you. Let that sit for a moment. I see you. When your child is screaming and yelling, and maybe they throw things, maybe they're trying to hit, maybe they are trying to bite, maybe they are getting aggressive themselves. When they have those big emotions and you've done the first 3 steps, you then get down to their level and you say, I see you. I see you in your big emotions. I see that you're really upset. That is going to instantly allow them to soften. Because now there's no more fighting. The only reason why your child throws temper tantrums, especially if they are 2 years old, which is those terrible 2s, and I can do a whole video on explaining exactly the energetics of a 2-year-old and what you need to know and what beliefs you need to instill in them. But when you tell your child, I see you, it takes them out of the only reason why they're throwing temper tantrums, and that is because they feel that they have lost power. And that's exactly what you felt. Why you normally react out of ways that are aggression and frustration and yelling. When you come down to their level and say, I see you, you no longer pass down the cycle of being unheard. You no longer pass down the cycle of, I have to stay silent to keep the peace. You no longer pass down the programming that I am powerless, that I am helpless. You give them the opportunity to feel safe with their big emotions, to know that anger is sacred. And this is going to allow your child to grow up with empowerment, with a balanced solar plexus chakra, with more confidence, with the ability to speak their truth. And this is so powerful in raising a sovereign child. This method, it is so simple, it is so quick. I myself did it in about 5 minutes. It helps that I've gone through knowing what my programs are, so that awareness step is a little shorter for me. But when you continuously do this method, it gets faster and faster. When you know how to uncover your limiting beliefs, which again, I show you and I give you a method and a procedure in the Shift the Imprint workbook, is also something that we go into extensive detail inside of the Theta Healing seminars. It makes it easier and faster of a process. So now this can be applied to big emotions. It can be applied to boundaries. It can be applied to whatever programs are being activated in any of those moments when you're being triggered. And this is what allows you to break cycles. This simple method. So in the next video, I'm going to be sharing with you exactly how these cycles get instilled in you as a mother and why they are so activated when you enter into motherhood. I love, see, and honor you for being here, for taking the steps to break cycles. And make sure to check out my video on the imprinting period, as it explains to you exactly what's happening in those first 7 years of your child's life and what you can do in order to ensure that you're raising a sovereign child. Until next time.